Hi everyone, Carrie Millspaw here with Abundant Living by KLM, wellness coach and holistic nutritionist. I am here to help you eliminate sugar out of your diet with my 5 easy steps to kissing sugar goodbye. In order to do that exact thing, you have to first know what exactly is sugar doing to your body. I'm one of those types of people that really needs to know what I'm doing to my body in order for me to make a change. A little education goes a long ways. So first and foremost, you need to know the facts. Why is excess sugar bad for you? Aside from getting fat, and we all know it does that, there's other things that are lurking behind your sugary habits. Part 1, added sugar contains no essential nutrients and of course is bad for your teeth. Not a surprise there. Your dentist is like, sure, go ahead, have extra sugar if you wish. No worries. We'll just keep collecting your bills. So, added sugar like sucrose and high fructose corn syrup contain a whole bunch of calories without any essential nutrients. And for this reason, they're called empty calories. There are no proteins, essential fats, vitamins, or minerals in this sugar, just pure energy. So when people eat up to 10 to 20% of calories as sugar or more, this can be an actual major problem and can contribute to nutrient deficiencies. Sugar, of course, is also very bad for your teeth because it provides easy digestible energy for the bad bacteria in your mouth. So sugar contains a lot of calories, zero nutrients. It also causes tooth decay by feeding harmful bacteria in your mouth. Part 2, added sugar is high in fructose, which can overload your liver. You probably thought, okay, I'm getting a gut. Maybe I need to cut back from sugar, or my butt's getting a little flabby. But it's also doing things to the insides of your body as well. Okay? So added sugar is high in fructose and can overload your liver. In order to understand what's so bad about sugar, you need to understand what it's made of. Okay, so before sugar even enters your bloodstream from the digestive tract, it's broken down into 2 simple sugars, glucose and fructose. Glucose is found in every living cell on the planet. If we don't get it from our diet, our bodies will actually produce it. Fructose is different. Our bodies do not produce it in any significant amount, and there's no psychological need for it. This thing with fructose is that it can only be metabolized by the liver in any significant amount. This is not a problem if we eat just a little, guys, such as fruit. I call it nature's candy. Or, if you've just finished an exercise session and you're trying to get your blood sugar back up. In this case, the fructose will be turned into glycogen and stored in the liver until you need it. However, if the liver's full already of glycogen because you're constantly eating it, is a lot of fructose overload to the liver, forcing it to turn that fructose into fat. So think of your liver as a little storage compartment. When you eat too much sugar, it's actually going to turn it into fat. There's no need to store it. It only has so much room in there. When repeatedly eating large amounts of sugar, this process can lead to fatty liver and all sorts of other serious problems. So keep in mind, this doesn't apply to fruit, but it's also impossible pretty much to overeat fructose by eating fruit. So I'm all about, again, nature's candy, eat fruit. There's also massive individual variability here. People who are healthy and active can tolerate more sugar than people who are inactive and eat a Western high-carb, high-calorie diet. So if more people who are inactive and eat that Western diet, large amounts of fructose from added sugars get turned into fat in your liver. Part 3, overloading the liver with fructose can cause non-alcoholic fatty liver disease. So you can get a liver disease from sugar. Who knew? When fructose gets turned into fat into the liver, it's shipped out as VLDL, cholesterol particles. However, not all fat gets out. Some of it gets lodged into the liver. And this can lead to that non-alcoholic fatty liver disease, which is a growing problem, guys, in the Western countries. It's also strongly associated with metabolic diseases. Studies show that individuals with fatty liver consume up to 2 to 3 times as much fructose as the average person. So excess fructose gets turned into fat, which can lodge in the liver and cause non-alcoholic fatty liver disease. Part 4, sugar can cause insulin resistance, which is a stepping stone towards metabolic syndrome and diabetes. A lot of you have heard of type 2 diabetes. It can be controlled with diet. I give you great news. You can control it. You don't have to be sticking yourself with a needle every day and checking your blood insulin levels. The key thing is to get ahead of it. It doesn't have to be the be-all, end-all. Insulin is a very important hormone in your body, and it allows glucose, that blood sugar, to enter cells from the bloodstream and tells the cells to start burning glucose instead of fat. Having too much glucose in the blood is highly toxic, and one of the reasons for complications of diabetes is blindness. You'll see some people have amputations or loss of circulation in parts of their body, and there's tons and tons of complications with diabetes. One feature of the metabolic dysfunction that is caused by the Western diet is that insulin stops working as it should. The cells become resistant. This is also known as insulin resistance. You've heard of that, which is believed to be the leading driver to many diseases, including metabolic syndrome, obesity, cardiovascular disease, and of course, type 2 diabetes. Many studies show that sugar consumption is associated with insulin resistance, especially when it is consumed in large amounts. So when people eat a lot of sugar, it actually causes a resistance to the hormone insulin, which again contributes to many diseases. The insulin resistance can actually progress to type 2 diabetes in part 5 here. When our cells become resistant to the effects of insulin, the beta cells in our pancreas make more of it. And this is crucial because chronically elevated blood sugars can actually cause more harm. Eventually, as insulin resistance becomes worse, the pancreas can't keep up with that demand of constantly producing insulin to keep those blood sugar levels down. So at this point, your blood sugar starts to skyrocket, and bingo, you've got a diagnosis of type 2 diabetes. So given that sugar can cause insulin resistance, it's not surprising really to see that people who drink sugar-sweetened beverages, sodas, Kool-Aid, all those horrible things you could put in your body, they actually have an up to 83% higher risk of type 2 diabetes. If you're a soda drinker, you've increased your risk by 83%. Take a good look at that needle. Does that look like something you want to inject into your arm every day for the rest of your life? I can answer that for you. No. So get ahead of this. Create choices. Better, healthier choices will actually change your life. You can control your health by 80 to 90%. You have that control. Because of the harmful effects of sugar on the function of insulin, it is a leading driver to type 2 diabetes. Sadly, part 6, sugar can give you cancer. Yes, lots of cancer-causing things out there in our environment today, and sugar is one of them. Cancer is one of the leading causes of death worldwide and is characterized by uncontrolled growth of multiplication of cells. When your cells go crazy, your free radicals go bananas, and there's constant multiplication of cells and tumors start to grow. That's what cancer is. Insulin is one of the key hormones in regulating this sort of growth. Okay, insulin's keeping track of these cells. Okay, guys, slow down, stop multiplying so fast. For this reason, many scientists believe that having constantly elevated insulin levels can contribute to cancer. In addition, the metabolic problems associated with sugar consumption are a known driver of inflammation, another potential cause of cancer. You don't want your cells inflamed, guys. Bad news. Multiple studies show that people who eat a lot of sugar, of course, are at a much higher risk of getting cancer. There is considerable evidence that sugar, due to its harmful effects on the metabolism, can also contribute to cancer. Part 7. Due to the effects on hormones in the brain, sugar has a unique fat promoting effects. So sugar does turn to fat, and this is some proof behind that. Not all calories are created equal. Different foods can have different effects on our brains and hormones that control food intake. Studies show that fructose doesn't have the same kind of effect on your satiety as glucose. And what is satiety? That is your satisfied button. I am satiated means satisfied, content. I'm not full anymore. I feel good. I've gotten enough nutrients. In one study, people drank either a fructose sweetened drink or a glucose sweetened drink. Afterwards, the fructose drinkers had much less activity in the satiety center of the brain, and they felt hungrier. So those that drank fructose drinks were actually like, oh, I'm still hungry, I'm still hungry, I'm still hungry, I'm still hungry, because that button's not getting turned off. Also, there's a study where fructose didn't lower the hunger hormone. We have two hormones in our body. Ghrelin that tells us we're hungry. Leptin is our buddy that tells us that we are full. Those two hormones are very triggered and very easy to confuse with diet. So sugar will actually tell that hunger hormone ghrelin that you're still hungry, which again, this increases obesity. No wonder we still feel hungry. We still feel hungry because our brain is confused. So over time, because the calories from sugar aren't as fulfilling, this can translate into obviously increasing your calorie intake, eating more bad. Fructose doesn't cause satiety in the brain. However, the hunger hormone ghrelin nearly as much as glucose. Glucose turns it off and says, okay, we're full, we're good. Part 8, because it causes massive dopamine releases to the brain, sugar's highly addictive. It's insane what you could just do a whole study on just this all by itself, what it's doing to your brain. Sugar can be addictive for a lot of people. In fact, I'm one of those people that have recovered from it. Like abusive drugs, sugar causes a release of dopamine into the reward center of the brain. It triggers that reward center in the brain, like, yay, this is happy time. The problem with sugar and many junk foods is that they can cause massive dopamine release, much more than we ever exposed to from foods found in nature. God didn't intend you to eat this way. Our ancestors never ate processed sugar. It didn't exist. They ate an apple. Okay, big difference. So for this reason, people who have susceptibility to addiction can become strongly addicted to sugar and other junk foods. So the whole everything in moderation message can be a bad idea for people who are actually addicted to junk food, because the only thing that really works is true abstinence. Similar to like an alcoholic. They can't have just one glass of wine. They need to be completely absent of all alcohol. Part 9. Sugar is a leading contributor to obesity in both children and adults. Sugar doesn't care if you're an adult or a child. It breaks my heart when I see chubby little kids out there eating Lucky Charms for breakfast and donuts and just nonstop sugar. Their brain is literally deteriorating and their guts are getting fuller and their bodies are just wearing down slowly. Their cells are screaming for help. Makes me crazy. The way sugar affects hormones in the brain is a recipe for a fat gain disaster. It leads to decreased, again, satiety. You always feel hungry. You don't feel full. And can get people addicted to so that they actually lose control over their consumption. How many times have you sat in front of the TV and eaten a whole box of Oreos and can't even believe that they disappeared in front of your favorite TV show? You increased all of them. You consumed all of them. So not surprisingly, people who consume the most sugar are by far the most likely to become overweight. This applies to all age groups. Many studies have examined the link between sugar consumption and obesity and found a strong statistical association. Now, the link is especially strong in children, where each daily serving of sweetened sugary beverages is associated with a whopping 60% increase of risk of obesity. So kids that are drinking sweetened beverages, this could be apple juice, things that you think are good for your kids, Kool-Aid, God help us, soda, just horrible. You're giving your kid a 60% chance of increasing their risk to obesity. So one of the most important things you can do if you need to lose weight, obviously, is to cut way back on sugar consumption. And this is my first step with every client I take on. Do you want to look like the girl on the right in the picture, or do you want to look like the girl on the left? I was the right, now I'm the left. So you by all means, you feel so much better in your body when you can move around freely. You can look great in your clothes. You can climb and hike and ride a bike without dying. You feel amazing. You can chase your kids through the park and playground. That's the way you were intended to live. And it's the only way to live in my book. Part 10, it isn't the fat, it's the sugar that raises your cholesterol and gives you heart disease. Who knew? All these fat-free fads and marketing out there was really not exactly on cue. So for many decades, people blamed saturated fat for heart disease, which is the #1 killer in the world. However, new studies have shown that saturated fat is harmless. The evidence is mounting that sugar, not fat, may be one of the leading drivers to heart disease, which again, the harmful effects of fructose on your metabolism. Studies show that large amounts of fructose can raise your triglycerides, which is the small, dense LDL, and the oxidized LDL. It raises your blood glucose and insulin levels and increases abdominal obesity. Gosh, in less than as little as 10 weeks, this can happen of consuming this type of diet. These are all major risks and factors to heart disease, and not surprisingly, many studies find a strong statistical association between sugar consumption and the risk of heart disease. So guys, I share these 10 bad news parts to you only because I know deep down, in order for me to understand why I shouldn't have something, I really need to know the details. Why is it bad? And get real clear. So I know I'm starting with bad news, but I'm going to get to the good news, so bear with me. Moving right along. Step 2, Why alternate sugars may be better or worse for you. Now, there are better alternate sugars. Stevia, xylitol, honey, coconut sugar. There's lots of alternates there that I approve. They have the Kerry stamp of approval on them, and they're great substitutes. What is not a substitute is chemically laced poison, otherwise known as aspartame. I am the anti-sugar-free person on the planet. I will scream it from the mountains. Do not put that in your body. Reason why I am so anti-sugar-free, as in aspartame equals Splenda, all of those wonderful / horrible things that you can put in your body that are in diet sodas and things of that nature. Yogurt, there's all kinds of NutraSweet things in there as well, is because it is chemically laced. I've read the book Excitotoxins, The Taste That Kills by a neurosurgeon, Dr. Russell Blaylock. I've read the book front to back. It is extremely deep. I don't recommend most people read it because it's probably over your head, to be honest. It's very, very technical. The key thing is it's got a lot of scientific proof that this type of excitotoxin, aspartame, is something that will excite your neurons in your brain to death. It literally is chemically inducing your brain, and it's tricking your brain to think it's good. So sugar's addictive anyway, so let's replace it with a chemically laced sugar that's even more addictive, and that's exactly what our FDA-approved foods are doing to our bodies. So those that drink a lot of diet sodas, those that have a lot of sugar-free items in their food or fridge, or Crystal Light drinkers, really watch what you eat. You're giving your kids sugar-free Jell-O, thinking you're doing a great job. You're actually feeding them chemicals instead. You're actually better having regular sugar, to be honest. This is going from bad to worse. I've got some unfortunate aspartame side effects that come up as well. And, aspartame came around. It was actually discovered by accident in 1965 when James Schlatter, a chemist, was doing some testing for an anti-ulcer drug. And then, of course, it was approved for dry goods in 1974. And then, some objections were filed by some neuroscience researchers. Shocking. Again, the brain science people checking out your head said, no, don't approve that. So the FDA put it on hold, and then back on 1981, it was approved again, and then found in your beverages like diet sodas in 1983. So unfortunately, it's been all over the place. Aspartame accounts for over 75% of the adverse reactions to food additives reported to the FDA. 75%, guys. Many of these reactions are very serious, including seizures and death. And a few of the 90% or 90 different documented symptoms listed in the report as part of the aspartame dangers are some that you see on the screen before us. So memory loss, I hear a lot from clients that have migraine issues. When I take out the aspartame, they don't have as much of a challenge with headaches. Some have abdominal pain. Some have, of course, Alzheimer's is very, very common, as the elderly tend to consume a lot of aspartame. Some of them are diabetic, so they drink a lot of sugar-free items or eat sugar-free items, which is sad. But aspartame is actually made up of 3 chemicals: aspartic acid, phenylalanine, and methanol. And it's actually a chemical poison is how us nature goddesses describe it. Here again is some more side effects that have been reported from sugar-free aspartame. So it actually can cause quite a bit of damage. The key thing is to be aware of what's going on in your body. Eliminate this also from your diets as soon as possible. Step 3. We're going to get onto the hope and I'm making you aware, okay? So those were some negative things. I understand that, and I hate to always point to the negative, but in all honesty, sometimes a little awareness and reality and education is what it takes to get you to turn around and make better choices, okay? I want you to start living differently. Your body was meant to live and thrive in an exciting way. Once you feel great, you'll never go back. So step 3, sugar may be actually filling a void in your life. I'm divorced now, but back in the day when I was a stay-at-home mom with my baby girl for 4 years, and it was the tail end of my marriage right before I left my ex-husband, and I was very unhappy. Part of it, I was also very overweight as well. I was a good size 14, and now I'm like a 4'6". The The key thing is I didn't have a very loving relationship with my husband. I was feeling that void of love. Okay, and I also felt like it was a reward at the end of the day to grab a big bowl of ice cream and watch my recorded shows that I had on my DVR all day. So I was feeling that void of lack of love in my relationship. I didn't have any quality time with my ex-husband. He did his thing, I did mine. We were pretty much roommates. I had chased a toddler around all day, so I was exhausted and again felt like I didn't have any me time. So when everyone was asleep, that was when I indulged. That was my reward. So I was filling my void of a loveless relationship, not loving myself, taking time out for Carrie, and filling it with chocolate. You know, it was like my little reward at the end of the day. Yay, I could kick my feet back and eat a brownie, you know, or something bad for me. So watch where you're filling sugar or anything else that's bad for you as comfort food as to fill that void. Be aware of it and make a better choice. Maybe you need to reach out to a friend. Maybe it's relationships. Maybe it's boredom. Maybe it is, you know, again, feeling lost or not feeling loved or lacking love in a relationship. I've noticed when I'm in a loving relationship, I eat a lot less and I get thinner because I'm happy. I've got those happy hormones. I'm in love. Yay! Can't wait to see him. What food? You know, I totally don't even think about food. I forget to eat. I'm so gaga and in love. So think about the voids in your life. Maybe it's a purpose or mission or a career or some kind of lack in your life. Where is that balance? Where are you off balance? Where is that bucket in your life that's unempty? Take a look at my balance videos that I have on here and blogs as well on my website to help you get clear on where you have a void, because there's a very good chance you're filling that food with a void. Step 4, there's hope for change, guys. First and foremost, start with not sabotaging your environment. I'm not kidding. It's easier to say no at the grocery store than it is at 10 o'clock at night when that ice cream is like, you're just going to let me sit here in the freezer? I mean, it's going to go bad. Eventually, you got to eat me. I have a whole gallon with your name on it. I mean, it's calling to you as you're watching your night shows. So the key things are not to bring it into your household at all or where you work. If you have candy on your desk or in your drawers or somewhere where you can grab it at all time and do mindless munching. That's what I call it. When we're in front of the TV and computer, we do a lot of mindless munching, which is very bad for your health. So there's serious hope, guys. Don't sabotage your environment. Say no. Get some serious willpower when you go to the grocery store. First and foremost, never grocery shop hungry or PMSing. In all honesty, us women know that everything looks great, especially the sweet stuff. And just learn to say no to your kids. Don't put it in the cart. If it's not in the cart, it's not going to be in your pantry. It's not going to be in your freezer or fridge. It's going to be harder for you to just jump in the car and go and get something when that craving is taking over. You know, if you can't find it in the house, it'll subside and you're home free without eating that stuff. So I want you to go baby steps from sugary drinks to water, from desserts to fiber, and get really clear on what you're drinking. Start there first. Sometimes that's the easiest way to knock out excess calories. If you're drinking lots of soda, say you have 3 sodas a day, knock it down to 2. Replace that 1 with water. If you need to have some type of flavoring in your water to get used to it, I encourage you to go with fruit or some type of natural sweetener. Do not put Crystal Light or other accessed horrible powders that are full of sugar-free chemicals or aspartame. Don't use those. Use fruit and get used to tasting water. Eventually, you'll wean yourself away from that taste of sugar and it'll taste too sweet. Or if you drink juice, do half with water, half with juice. Water it down to eliminate that sugary need. Okay? Desserts, try strawberries, chocolate-covered strawberries if you need a little something sweet. At least it's something small. Have more fruit to eliminate that sugary type of taste that you need or crave. You know, it's kind of interesting. Through this presentation, I actually paused it, went and had a red grapefruit, and just because I'm talking about sugar, I was like, oh, I want something sweet. That red grapefruit was amazing, knocked out that need for something sweet, and life is good. I'm full of fiber now and nutrients and something sweet. Nature's candy. So start to knock out the drinks. If you put sugar in your coffee, start to wean yourself off of that. That was where I started eventually, you know, a long time ago, was no cream and sugar in my coffee. Learned to like my tea and coffee black. If I do put anything in my tea, I put a little bit of honey, but for the most part, I drink it plain. You just get used to it. It's acquired taste. Step 5 is how to eat consciously versus subconsciously. I want you to get super aware of what you're putting in your mouth. And how the trick I use with all of my clients is to take a little tiny notebook and put it in your purse and write down everything you eat for 7 days. Write down every little thing you put in your mouth for 7 days. Eventually, you'll get so tired of pulling that little booklet out that you'll stop eating altogether. You'll be like, screw it, I don't want it. I don't want the candy bar. I don't want to write it down. I don't want to admit that I ate a candy bar today. I don't want to admit that I had 4 donuts. I don't even want to see it in black and white on that notebook. This is going to trigger you to start living conscious, eating conscious. This little trigger works wonders. I promise you by day 8, you're already thinking, forget it. I'm not going to eat it. I don't want to write it down. It holds you accountable, and it holds you to being honest with yourself of what you're really eating. Because again, I want to get you away from the mindless consumptions, the mindless eating. So also be aware of those stupid little silly thoughts in your head. Old patterns of self-belief. For example, your parents might have raised you to say, hey, if you eat your dinner, you get dessert. Again, a reward mechanism. Are you using sweets as a reward mechanism? Get really clear on that, and trigger yourself. I notice myself even doing that still. It's from childhood. As when I'm eating in a restaurant, like, oh yeah, I'm not going to order anything. Nope, I don't need anything. I'm satisfied. And it's your belief patterns, that old subconscious thought. Okay, Carrie, this is when we order dessert. No, I don't need it. I don't have to have it. I do occasionally eat it. I don't deprive myself by any means. But 90% of the time, I say no. So get to that level. You want it to be a good 80-20, 90-10 type of situation where you're having 90% great stuff, 10% bad. So beware of those thoughts and get really conscious in your eating. I hope this has helped you today to get clear on how to choose a better healthy path for you. And more importantly than anything, you need to look in the mirror and say, I'm worth it. I deserve to be amazingly healthy, vibrant. I deserve to respect my body. You're given one body through this lifetime. You deserve to feel good every day. Jump out of bed feeling amazing. You deserve that. You're better than the disease you're consuming. You're better than putting your risk at heart disease higher. You're better than that risk of type 2 diabetes. If you really, truly don't love yourself, you need to work with me one-on-one on the self-love exercises that I give to my clients. In all honesty, that's where it starts. And then you put yourself so high up on that shelf that sugar and fatty foods are just not an option because you're better. You deserve the very best that you can put into your body, and you deserve to feel amazing every single day. So I hope this helps you drop some excess pounds, start to look at food a little differently, especially sugar, and more importantly, learn to love yourself more than anyone else on this planet, and that's the best start to have. God bless you. Much love. Live life abundantly. Miss Carrie Millspaw.